Welcome, folks, to this edition of the 700 Club. You suppose a cloud of censorship, a hideous censorship, could come here? Well, it's already descended on Great Britain, and it's a danger that we all face. Now, here's the deal. A British citizen faces what he calls a death sentence. What did he do that was wrong? He spoke out against the growing influence of Islam in the United Kingdom, and a judge sentenced a man named Tommy Robinson to 13 months for what he called contempt of court. And all he did, he shot a video of a building where a Muslim gang faced trial for rape. And in the process, Mr. Robinson says, well, this is a death sentence because you send me to prison where those Muslims are and they'll kill me. Wendy?
That his arrest has set off protests around the world with claims that the UK is looking more and more like a left-wing dictatorship. Dale Hurd has the story.
There have been protests from Downing Street to as far away as Australia. A German parliament member has even offered him political asylum. Stephen Lennon, better known as Tommy Robinson, was arrested Friday for simply filming outside a British court where a Muslim rape gang trial was being held. He was charged with contempt of court, and because of a prior suspended sentence, was immediately given 13 months in jail. Some fear it could be a death sentence. As the former leader of the English Defence League and a loud voice warning about the Islamization of Britain, Tommy Robinson has become an important worldwide symbol of resistance to governments that have allowed radical Islam to grow inside their borders. The British government views Tommy Robinson as a troublemaker and has been prosecuting and jailing him for years. He's been unable to work and has had to move his family several times. His autobiography is fittingly entitled Enemy of the State.
How do you feel as a patriot living in a country where you believe the state would like you dead?
It's like loving a country that hates you. It's like that, that's how it's felt. I have to look now at the state as an enemy of our people.
We spent time with Tommy in his hometown of Luton in 2016, and he told us he's convinced that he's going to be murdered.
I know I'm going to get killed. I know that there'll be times when people are watching this back when I am killed, and I've known that for years.
His supporters fear he could be murdered in prison. Lennon took us to a prison which he called an ISIS training camp, where he believes he would have been killed by Muslim inmates if he had not forced officials to place him in solitary confinement. His supporters are hoping and praying he survives his 13-month prison sentence.
I've accepted that if I'm going to go out, I'll go out on my terms. I'm not going to go out wearing a bulletproof vest or hiding, because morally, what we're doing is right and just. So I may get called and slandered by politicians and media now, but I know the next generation learning our history will know that I was on the right side.
Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Could that happen here in America? Well, the answer is yes. Many times the things that begin in Great Britain wind up here in America. And the thought that a man would be jailed because he merely filmed a trial dealing with Muslims and then it was held in contempt of court. And the judge, by the way, put a ban on any reporters covering the story. I mean, it was just a total blackout. And then they're going to put him to prison, and the prison could be a death sentence. It's a horrible thing to think about.
It boggles the mind. Yeah. There's no common sense involved. And, you know, we think of England as our friends, but like he says, right now, they're an enemy of people that want to do right.
They're letting these, in the Midlands of England, they've got these Sharia courts operating where they operate under Islamic law, under Sharia. And listen, folks, this is an insidious, creeping evil that can destroy the freedom of every free-loving American and every free-loving person all over the world, because there's nothing free about Islam. It's a totalitarian theocracy that is nothing but evil. Well, in other news, a killing spree in Belgium is now seen as an act of terror. Again, that Allah Akbar is being yelled by what may be an extremist. Efraim Grimm has that story.
Pat, the murders of 3 people in Belgium, including 2 police officers, are now considered a terrorist attack. An investigator says the attacker shouted Allahu Akbar several times during this murder spree. Tuesday, in the city of Liège, the attacker stabbed 2 female police officers, stole their weapons, and shot them. He also killed a passenger in a car and held 1 woman hostage before police killed him in a shootout. The man is a Belgian national who was on a 2-day leave from prison. Investigators are now trying to see if he became radicalized while in prison. The United States wants the UN Security Council to condemn the Hamas rocket attacks against Israel. After a day and a half of shelling, Israelis woke up and went about their daily life Wednesday morning. CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell has this report from the Gaza border.
Children went to school and Israelis returned to their routines following the heaviest rocket attacks since the end of the 2014 Gaza conflict. Islamic Palestinian groups launched about 100 rockets and mortars at southern Israeli communities around the Gaza border.
This is full force terror. Israel will defend itself by itself, and we will not accept any criticism for defending our children.
Many said Iran's fingerprints were all over it. One of the first places hit was this kindergarten in a kibbutz near the Gaza border. A mortar struck just behind me early in the morning, just 1/2 hour before the children came to school. Most of the rockets and mortars were intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome aerial defense system. Israel responded to the cross-border attack by targeting 65 terror sites, including rocket and munition factories, military compounds, and a terror tunnel. Media reports said Palestinians had agreed on a ceasefire. For several weeks, Hamas led violent protests and attacks along the Israel border with Gaza. Many believe this round of violence may be at an end.
The situation today remains stable, but it depends entirely on what Hamas will try to do. If Hamas will try to escalate the situation, the IDF is ready and prepared to respond. Quiet will be met with quiet, but terror will be met with a firm response.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, near the Gaza border in southern Israel.
We wait now to see what the UN Security Council will do. Pat?
I mentioned yesterday, I'll say it again, when Israel turned that whole part of Gaza and gave it over to the Palestinian Authority, they were asking for trouble. They had control of it, and then I don't know what they were trying to do, whether they were trying to placate the Muslims or to tell the Palestinians we were really good guys and don't worry about it or whatever. But they pulled out, and as a result, instead of a peaceful coexistence, Hamas took over, because Hamas controls a good part of the Palestinian Authority. And they then took over Gaza, and Gaza has become a focal point of, destruction against Israel. So here you have all this incitement of violence, and the Israelis have to hit back. And, you know, you ask yourself, what is Hamas trying to do? They want to sacrifice people. They want to get these young people killed. Do they want to have martyrs to show to the world that, you know, that they're willing to die for their cause? What is the story? Well, you'll have to find out later, but what goes on in the mind of these terrorists is sometimes is unfathomable. But nevertheless, it's there. And Israel, Ariel Sharon, should never have given up Gaza. He shouldn't have done it. It was a mistake. And when Israel withdrew from there, they just left a void which has been filled by radicals. Well, there's a problem in the heartland of America. A scandal has taken place, and Ephraim has that story.
Pat, Missouri Governor Eric Greitens is resigning. Multiple scandals, including allegations of sexual misconduct and political fundraising violations, rocked his administration. His resignation takes effect Friday. Republican Governor Mike Parson will then assume the governor's duties. Just 2 months ago, Roseanne Barr scored a huge comeback, making millions for ABC with the reboot of her hit television show. Today, after the comedian's racist Twitter rant about one of President Obama's former advisors, it's all over. Our Mark Martin is on this story.
Roseanne Barr found herself in hot water and without a show after tweeting Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes had a baby equals VJ. VJ refers to Valerie Jarrett, a black woman and a longtime advisor to former President Barack Obama. Barr deleted the initial tweet and issued an apology, tweeting, "I apologize to Valerie Jarrett and to all Americans. I am truly sorry for making a bad joke about her politics and her looks. I should have known better. Forgive me, my joke was in bad taste." Barr also tweeted an apology to those who lost their jobs and tweeted that people should not defend her. On an MSNBC show about racism, Jarrett responded,
"I think we have to turn it into a teaching moment. I'm fine. I'm worried about all the people out there who don't have a circle of friends and followers who come right to their defense.
This is what people from Iraq and Talibanistan do."
Barr is known for hitting hot topics on the popular reboot. Kantar Media reports Roseanne earned an estimated $45 million in advertising revenue for ABC through 9 episodes. While controversial, Barr's stunt this week resulted in a storm of criticism and the show's cancellation.
Roseanne has been a bit of a problem for ABC for a while. This isn't her first nasty tweet, and I think this was just the final straw.
In a statement, ABC's president of entertainment, Channing Dungey, called the tweet abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with our values. While Disney CEO Bob Iger tweeted, "There was only one thing to do here, and that was the right thing." Mark Martin, CBN News.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is taking a leading role in the fight for global religious freedom. And in a surprise move, he's calling together major offenders, even countries that are U.S. allies, to push for real reform. CBN's Jenna Browder shows us what that could mean.
In 1998, then Senator Sam Brownback helped champion a law to create an ambassador for religious freedom. Today, he holds that position and is ready to take action by going beyond simply releasing an annual report.
We must move religious freedom forward. We must defend it in every corner of the globe. And that's why the Secretary is hosting the first ever ministerial on advancing religious freedom.
This ministerial, we expect, will break new ground. It will not just be a discussion group. It will be about action. We look forward to identifying concrete ways to push back against persecution and ensure greater respect for religious freedom for all.
A key goal for the event will be to convince how countries hurt themselves by not allowing people to freely worship.
You have less terrorism if a country is religiously free, because people then can express their faith and instead of fighting you through terrorism. And this is in now all the economic and the scientific data.
Today also marked the release of the latest International Religious Freedom Report, highlighting problems in countries like Russia, Iran, Afghanistan, and North Korea. While Brownback believes naming and shaming these countries is important, he admits some type of punishment, such as economic or humanitarian sanctions, should follow.
We're pushing them forward.
To show his priority to the cause, Secretary of State Pompeo called it an international human right and said he was very intentional about making the July event his first opportunity to host international foreign ministers. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
The Secretary of State has already been busy. Pat?
Well, I think Sam Brownback is a fabulous guy. He was a United States Senator, then he was governor of Kansas, and then he's taken this job because he feels so deeply about religious freedom, and he's an outstanding human being and a wonderful credit to our nation. So let's hope he can do something, Wendy.
He's right. These countries have to have more than just a slap on the wrist, you're bad. They have to feel the pain in some sort of economic way.
Well, he'll do that as well. We hope so, anyhow.